Previously on Spenelli Speaks.
Well, if you wanted a good laugh, there you go. This is a medium dress on a big old pregnant Dani.
Know you've been a good friend, and that's in the thick and thin, and I know it's never gonna end, 'cause you've been a good friend.
Hi everyone, Dani here. Welcome back to my channel. It is so nice to see you here in 2022. Happy New Year if you haven't heard it from me already. I want to thank you all for being here, all of you newbies and those of you who have been with me from the beginning. Thank you so much. It is so nice to see you all. I have been loving the comments that have been coming through and just love the interaction. So thank you for being there and supporting my channel. If you aren't already subscribed, I hope you take some time and hit that subscribe button because I would love for you to join the community. Now, today is a big day because we have two things to discuss. We have my 22 books to read in 2022, and we have my January TBR. Now, I have already filmed this video, and then I accidentally deleted it. Yeah. That really stunk. But it is what it is. So we are going to redo it. And since then, there have been a couple of things that have been added to my January TBR. Happens all the time. So it's probably a good thing because now I can tell you a little bit more about those books. So before we get into the January TBR, we're going to talk about my 22 books that I'm going to read in 2022. And if you are familiar with my channel, you know that I did this last year with 21 books to read in 2021. And I will tell you, I did not finish all 21 books. So I have included those 6 books that I did not finish in with the 22 books that I'll read this year. And I'll explain which ones are which as we go through. So we're going to jump right into that so that this video isn't an hour long. So let's go ahead and look at my shelf. So first things first, we have Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch, which I recently picked up at a library book sale and was super thrilled to find for $1. If you don't know what this is about, it's about an art piece that is stolen and the people that surround that story. It sounds super good. I've never read Donna Tartt before, so I'm excited to jump into something from her. It is a bit of a chunkster, so we'll see how that goes. Mists of Avalon. This was part of my 21 books to read in 2021, and I started it, but I really didn't get into it. I think because it was such a big book, I got a little overwhelmed and set it aside. So I do really want to read this because I have been meaning to read it for ages and was excited when I found it at a St. Vinny's for $1.19. So of course, I really want to get to that. Then another book from my 21 books to read in 2021 is Drowning Ruth. Now this is a book that is set in Wisconsin, and I do love reading books that are set in Wisconsin, so I did want to read this last year. I was super thrilled to have gotten it in one of my Books and Treasure boxes, and then just didn't ever get to it last year, so I want to get to that one this year as well. Then we have Wicked, which has been sitting on my shelf for ages. And if you kind of bring over here, this is where they all are. You can see where it used to be. And then I have all of these. So I have not read any of them. So I need to get to this one. Now I have started this book 3 times and never gotten past like 50 pages. So I'm hoping that this time I can really get into one of McGuire's books because I'm really interested in the story and I want to get into the rest of the series. Then, for those of you who know me, you know that I love Virginia Woolf. This is a fictional account of her and her sister Vanessa, and it, I believe, has letters and whatnot in it, so it's supposed to be a really nice read. I was gifted this by my very good friend Laura at Book Bubbler, who she enjoyed it but wasn't going to keep it, so I'm definitely interested in reading this. I do love Virginia Woolf, and reading something like that, it's definitely going to be fun for me. So that is another read. Then, because I was gifted this book by my husband's aunt, and everyone has been saying so many good things about this author. He is new to me. I have not ever read any William Kent Kruger books. I do also have Ordinary Grace, which was also gifted to me. But I decided to start with this Tender Land. And if you are following Laura and I on our business YouTube channel, DoubleBookedCo, I do believe that this book comes up in one of our book club picks. I can't remember which month that is, but I do believe it is. So I'm going to wait until that month to see if this gets picked. And if it doesn't get picked, then I will read it on my own. But that'll be fun to read as a group for sure. Then, again, if you know me, you know I love classics, and you know I love James Joyce, Ulysses, which is one of his most profound works, and Dubliners is known to be one of his best stories. I was also gifted this by Laura at Book Bubbler. This is just a fantastic cover. I mean, it's so pretty. The lettering is iridescent there. It's got deckled edges. It kind of has this graphic novel background. It's not a graphic novel itself. It's still just the story. But I just thought this was such a beautiful cover. I don't own this myself. So when she gifted to me, I was super excited. And because I have not read this one yet, I was really excited to add it to my 22 books to read in 2022. The next one here is Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love. I've had this on my shelf for some time, and I also have Eat, Pray, Love Made Me Do It. So depending on how much I enjoy this, I may jump right into that one as well. And I'm actually going to leave this out because that is going to be part of my January TBR. So we're going to pull that one right away. The next book here, The 19th Wife, I recently got this at a library book sale for $1, and I can't recall who all has mentioned this on BookTube. I want to say Amanda from The Curly Reader and Tara from Buzzword Books, but I've heard really good things about this story. It's a historical fiction set in the Mormon community, and as you can imagine, it's a woman's, story based on her experience. So I'm really excited to read this one because I haven't read anything like this in a while. And when I saw it, I just was really drawn to this cover and drawn to what I had heard about it. So I'm excited to read that. Then we have Modok, which is a true story of the greatest elephant that ever lived. So this is another nonfiction in my books here. And I picked this up from a little free library during my bridal shower. It was so funny. I walked out of the area that we were at. We were at an outside park, and there was a little free library, and this was in there. And I just really wanted to read the story. It just looked something that was very compelling. So I've been meaning to get to it, and I thought, why not add it to my 22 books to read this year? So this next one is definitely a book that was on my list already. So this is 13 Rue Teresa. I think that's how you say that. This is such a fascinating looking book. It's has a bunch of different artifacts and letters in here from after World War I, and it's about someone who finds a box of all of these things and tries to decipher a person's life based on those items. So very, very interesting. And this cover, you guys, this cover is beautiful. So I really want to read this, and I know that this is the one that I have. It's the paperback I found at Goodwill for 99 cents, but I know my mom also has a copy, so I might try to read this with her because that would be super fun. Then I am a huge Louise Erdrich fan, and I have read this previously in college, but for the life of me, I really can't remember much of it, and I want to get back into many of her books. I do own quite a few. If we come over here into this shelf, you can see I have Roundhouse, La Rosa, and then I also have The Painted Drum, and then I have read Love Medicine as well as a few others. Something Little No Horse. Oh, that one was so good. I wish I owned that one. That one was really excellent. Actually, I might own it. Just might be. Oh yeah, right there. Here we go. The Last Report
of Miracles at Little No Horse. That was an excellent read, 5-star all the way. But anyways, back to the 22 books. So Four Souls, it's a slim read, but what's really great, this is one of the stories that is part of the generational path. So many of the people that we see in this timeline or family tree are also in Love Medicine, and they are also in the last report on Miracles on Little No Horse. So it's kind of interesting to see how the generations grow and what happens to them and whatnot. So I really wanted to read another one of hers because I haven't read one of hers in a while. So speaking of someone I have not read and have been meaning to in so long, I found this book at St. Vinny's for 75 cents, and I was so thrilled. I absolutely love this cover. It's so classic, and I've wanted to read this book for so long. I remember watching the movie when I was a kid and not really understanding it, but wanting to. And I'm just so excited to finally get this. I really admire Amy Tan. I've watched some documentaries on her, and I just admire her story, and I really just need to read her. Again, she's one of those authors where I've started to collect her books here. I just haven't read them. So as you can imagine, it's time to read some Amy Tan. So we have that as well. Then we have The Glass Castle, another nonfiction that I've added to this list. Not really sure what this one's about, but I've seen it everywhere and thought I might as well get it read. And if I don't like it, well, there's a little free library that will take it, no problem. And of course, it's time for Anne of Green Gables. I know so many of you are probably like, what? You haven't read that? No, I have not. And I got this really cool copy, which is a Pantone Puffin copy from the dollar store, believe it or not. I also have a book like this for Wizard of Oz, which is yellow, but I'm going to read this year, and I'm not going to read it with any read-alongs or anything. I know Emily from Novell Novels is doing a Anne-along this year of all of the Anne of Green Gables books, but I'm just going to go ahead and read this at my own pace, probably during middle grade March. So that is in the list as well. So only a few more left here. Mitch Albom, we all know, one of my favorite authors. I usually try to read one of his books each year. This past year, I read The Timekeeper, which was excellent. So this year, I'm going to try The First Phone Call from Heaven. This is about a small town that starts receiving phone calls from what seems to be heaven. So very interesting. I always love his writing. It's really easy to get through. I love this copy. This blue is just beautiful, and it's got the deckled edges that I love. So that'll be super fun. Then this is another 21. So this is from last year. I didn't get to it. I'm kind of sad about that because I really thought I would get a Jane Austen in last year, but July was a little hectic for me. So I'm going to try again this year and see if I can get this read and obviously get one more Jane Austen under my belt. Then for all of you who know me, and if you don't, you know, or you will find out, I am a huge C.S. Lewis fan. He has excellent writing, both nonfiction and fiction. His Narnia books are obviously of my favorites. I last year read Mere Christianity as well as the Space Trilogy, which were excellent. And I actually found, okay, we're going to go real low here. I actually found all three of those books down there, you can see. So that was Out of the Silent Planet, Pearlandria, and That Hidden Strength. So I read those last year, really liked them, and so I want to continue reading all of his work. So I have the Screw Tape Letters here, and very slim read, but this again is going to be, you know, part of the collection that I'm hoping to read. Now you can see the pages are super yellowed, and this copy stinks, but I love that. So I'm excited to read some more C.S. Lewis because I adore his writing. Then, Johnny Tremain. I think a year or so ago, I tried to read this because it is my brother's favorite book. One of my brothers, that is, and he keeps telling me to read this, and Yeah, these, like, look, it's so small, so small. And I loved Stephen Crane's Red Badge of Courage, which is based in the Civil War. This Johnny Tremaine is based around Boston and the Revolt, so probably American Revolution, but I don't know. So I'm gonna have to try to read this. I've promised him so many years in a row to read this book, so I'm gonna try this year for sure and get this read. So then the last two books are part of the 21 books I was supposed to read in 2021. Redwall. I really want to read this one. I have also, again, been collecting some of the Redwall books. So we have two more of Brian Jacques' books right there. And so we want to start with Redwall. I've been told you don't have to read them in order, but I'm a stickler for order. So this is definitely a book that I want to try to get read this year. I mean, he's just so cute. But anywho, yeah, so then I need to read. And then lastly, we have Eye of the World, which you can see I started this last year. And I love this book. I really do. It's fantastic. It's just, you know, reading all of the Christmas books in December, I totally neglected this book. So I want to get back into this. I'm really excited to do so. I'm also going to leave this one out because I'm going to read it in January. So those are all of the books that I plan on reading in 2022 as far as like that goal goes. So that brings me to January and the TBR that I have put together for myself. Now, when I started my TBR for January, I really thought that I was going to keep it slim. I was going to keep it easy. And like I said at the beginning of the video, since I recorded my original video till now, I've actually added a few things, which is so crazy. So of course, like I mentioned, out of the 22 books to read in 2022, I'm really going to try to read at least 2 books per month from that list so that I don't run into the same issue that I had last year, which was not finishing 6 books. So the 2 that I chose was Eye of the World, which I already have a jump start, so that shouldn't be too bad. And then Eat, Pray, Love. So one fiction, one nonfiction, and see where that takes me. So those 2 are definitely on my TBR for this month. Then I also want to read The Little Shop of Found Things by Paula Braxton. Now you can see I already have a bookmark here. I've started it. I'm about I'm to chapter 7, which is 80 pages in. I was gifted this by the lovely Lindsey over at Lindsey's Little Library, and I'm really excited to read this one. So far, 80 pages in, this book is completely immersive. So this is about a woman and her mother who are going through a tough time. Her mother is going through a divorce, which is kind of messy, and they move to a smaller town in the British countryside, and they buy an antique store. That's the business that they've always done, and the daughter is able to hear stories of the antique, so where they're from, what their meaning is, and she finds a specific item that really sings to her and actually transports her to a different time. So I'm really excited to read this. Like I said, I'm 80 pages in and the writing is excellent. It's immersive. It's easy to get trapped in, and I really like the characters. I'm so excited to pick up another read that just makes me feel good about reading. Last year there weren't too many of those, so I'm excited to start this year with a really good one. And this cover is so beautiful, and I love how my bookmark like absolutely matches it. It's even got a little moon on here. So a little bit mystic, but definitely going to be continuing that because it's excellent. Then if you follow Laura and I again on our DoubleBookedCo Instagram or our DoubleBookedCo YouTube channel, we have started a book club this year. So if you're interested in reading with us, we do a productivity or reading sprint
mid-month, and then at the very end of the month we do a live discussion on that DoubleBookedCo channel. And we have 3 pre-selected books each month that then everyone who's in the book club then votes on. And the month of January, we are reading Ian McEwan's Atonement, which sounds like a really miserable book to start in January. But hey, everyone voted. Laura and I don't vote, so this is what they picked, and I'm excited to read this finally. All of the books that we pick for our book club are all from our backlist books, so it's books that we already own, and so if we already own them, we're big thrifters, you should be able to get them from a thrift store or the library. So we're gonna be reading this. Many of you already know what this is about. I can't really read from the back or the flap because there's nothing there, but from what I understand, miscommunication and atonement. So anywho, if you are interested, I'll leave all the information below, and anyone who I've mentioned as well, I will leave their information below. If you want to get in with any read-alongs that I mention or channels that I mention, I'll put that all in the description. But if you're wanting to read with us, we do have a Voxer group, and then we are on the YouTube channel as well. So you can do as little or as much as you want to do with that. So that's another book that I'll be reading in January. Then, speaking of Laura at Book Bubbler, as you know, if you follow my channel, we do a year-long read every year, and we bounce between reading one solid, really big book to reading a series. So last year we read the Secret of the Pink Carnation series, which was a 12-book series. So we kind of read one book per month. We actually read a little faster because some of them were really good, so we kind of sped through them. And then the year before that, we read Edward Rutherford's London, which was excellent. We really enjoyed it. So when it came to this year, we decided to read another Rutherford with Sarum, which is a story of England. And it's ginormous. So it's not as long as London, actually. But we both have the hardcover, and I can tell you, I just started this. So I read the first chapter, which was 40 pages. And this sucker is heavy. Like, I had to really kind of put a pillow down and rest it, because this is a heavy book. So this is about England. Edward Rutherford does a really great job of putting history and fiction together, making a fictional account of the discovery of, or, you know, the ancestry of. So it's always generational. And what's really nice is I always put a bookmark in where the family tree is, so you can actually follow for each chapter who the people are and who they're connected to throughout the story, which is fantastic. I absolutely love those kind of stories. So like I said, I have read the first chapter already. Laura and I just started reading last night, and excellent. It definitely started out way better than London. In London, I think it took us like 200 pages to really get going into the story. This one, we start with, the chapter is called Journey to Sarum, and it's about kind of those hunter-gatherer people and their journey to Sarum, which is now it's Salisbury. So Sarum is the old term for that, but it's the Salisbury area south of Stonehenge. So Laura and I are huge British, England. So we are super excited to be reading this. And like I said, I was completely immersed in that first chapter. So I'm excited for the rest of the book. Then I do have another year-long read with my very good friend, Christy Lewis over at Dostoevsky in Space. I, in one of my book hauls, mentioned that I got this really cool book that Christy would get jealous about, and she immediately messaged me and said, yes, Jelly Belly over here, do you want to read it together next year? And I was like, absolutely. So we are reading A People's Tragedy, The Russian Revolution, 1891 to 1924. So this is a textbook. So just so everyone's aware, it's a textbook. And we're really excited to read it. So I don't know if we will finish the entire thing in 2022. You know, Christy, is going through a lot with her health, and I am going to be delivering a infant in April. So I don't know if we'll completely finish it. We haven't really discussed how we want to break it up at this time, but just knowing our certain situations right now, we are being very, very open and just kind of going with the flow, which makes it really nice as a buddy read, because then we don't feel pressure to try to read a textbook. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I'm excited. I have not really done a lot or in-depth study of Russian government or politics or literature. So I'm really excited to see what this book has to offer. So then I still have some books left over from 2021 that I was supposed to read. One of which being Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I was supposed to read this with my book club, and I got a little bit in there. It's really good. The language is just super like flowery and long-winded, and it's really hard to keep my attention. So I ended up putting it down so many times, but I do really want to read it, especially now with Anne Rice's passing. It's kind of like, oh, I really should just finish this darn book. So I'm going to try to get this finished this month. We'll see how it goes, but I will finish it. I don't want to DNF it. I do actually want to read this book. Another one I do not want to DNF. I literally have 2 parts left. I have 2 parts left of the third in the Kristen Lavenstatter book. This is the third book called The Cross. I literally have 2 parts left. Like, why can't I just sit down and finish this book? I read this with a very wonderful person, Jeanette, one of my subscribers, as well as Rainey from Rainy Day Reads. They have both finished it when we were supposed to finish it, and they are awaiting my thoughts. So I really need to finish this last 2 parts. I can do it. I can. I will. I'm not DNFing it. I'm going to get it done. So I want to finish that as well. And then another wonderful subscriber, Tika out there, gifted me this beautiful edition of The Other Broodlin Girl. We started reading it, we took a break, and then I just fell off the face of the planet. It's been a weird year. It's been rough. So I really want to finish this too, because again, this is an excellent read. It's so interesting, and it's about a time that I love and love learning about. So I'm going to try to finish this as well. Will I finish it here in January? I don't know, because like I said, every time I turn around, something gets added to the list. So let's talk about that. So for audiobooks, I always think, oh, well, that doesn't count towards the physical books that I read. So I decided to join Emily from Novel Novel. She is doing a Woolf Hall read-along, and I don't own that book, but I have read the 3rd book in the series when I participated in the Booktube prize last year. So it's funny, I have not read the first 2. So I thought, yeah, let me go ahead and join that. I have access to it on audiobook with my Hoopla account, so I'm going to try to get that read. I have both January and February to read it, so I definitely am going to go ahead and add that to my list since it's an audiobook. I can get that done when I'm doing other things, right? Then I heard about Ange and Amy. Ange from Ange's Book Chatter and Amy from Booktube with Amy are doing a read-along with Charlene Harris's Dead series, Dead Until Dark series, True Blood, if you're familiar with that. I was a huge True Blood fan when it first came out. I remember the very first episode, me and all my friends, we were living in an apartment and we were like surrounded by the TV, and that first scene, if you know what I'm talking about, was like shock and awe. Well, maybe not awe, but like shock. For me at least. And I was then gifted this wonderful book series from my mother that year.
for Christmas, or maybe it was a couple years after the show started. So the first book has the like show cover, and then the subsequent books have their original covers. And I have not read any of these. It's been years, you guys. True Blood came out years ago, like years. That was college. I graduated in 2009, so like 2009 is, yeah, that's when we were living in the apartment. So it's been over 10 years that I have had these books and I have not read them. So I looked up on my Hoopla account, and I do have access to the entire series on my Hoopla account. So I'm going to go ahead and join those ladies in reading those books and see how it goes. And yeah, before I started recording this video, I did start the book itself, and it's, from what I can remember of the show, it's starting like pretty spot on. I really don't like the way that Sookie Stackhouse is like describing herself, like, yeah, I'm pretty, I've got blue eyes and blonde hair and big bosoms and this, that, and I was like, humble much? But, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. I don't know how far I'll get in the series, but if I enjoy it, I'll just keep going. If not, I'll go ahead and just put it to the side. Then, lastly, I know this is just ridiculous, and if you have stayed here this whole time, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you being here and listening to me ramble on about books that I'm going to read. But I swear, this is the last one. So again, my good friends Christy Lewis over at Dostoevsky at Space, or in Space, and Noah from Everyone Who Reads It Must Converse, and Victoria from A Musical Bookworm. These lovely people are just putting out some really great read-along kind of situations. And they are doing Flannery January. And it just so happens at this latest library sale, I picked up the complete works, complete stories. So these are the short stories of Flannery O'Connor. And this is a beautiful cover. And it does have, I know each of them have picked like something that they are wanting to really hone in on during Flannery January. And I know I have A Good Man Is Hard to Find. I know that's one of them. I can't remember what Victoria's pick was. And I know I don't think that the one that Christy picked, and I'll link all this below, is in here. I think hers was a collection of letters, so that would not be in here. But I may try to read at least what Noah had and what Victoria had if it is in this book, because I have not ever read Flannery O'Connor, and I would like to. And yeah, so if I get to that, they are short stories. It looks like that one that I mentioned, A Good Man Is Hard to Find, is not very long. So I'm going to try to do that too. I know I started thinking that I was going to make this really small, 4-book TBR, and as it turns out, there's a lot more here than I expected. So again, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for joining me today. It is such a blessing to have you here. Please, comment below. Have you read any of these books? Are you participating in any of the read-alongs that I mentioned? Are any of these books like, Dani, don't do it? But definitely let me know what you're reading, what you're looking forward to this year. Did you make goals similar to mine as far as, goals for the whole year? But yeah, until next time, I hope you're all reading something great, taking care and staying safe. And as always, you know how it goes. Happy reading. Bye.